The 1960s weren't just a decade, they were a revolution. Music exploded in bold new directions, soundtracking a generation's desire for change, freedom, and identity. Iconic names like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Jimi Hendrix became global legends, but they were just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface, there was an entire world of bands pushing boundaries and crafting unforgettable sounds. Many of whom never got the recognition they truly deserved. Some flirted with fame, others left behind cult classics, and a few were simply ahead of their time. Stick around, you might just rediscover your next favorite forgotten band. And if you love exploring hidden corners of music history, don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives like this. This article dives into 20 remarkable yet overlooked bands from the 1960s, acts that helped shape rock, garage, folk, and psychedelic music as we know it. From proto-punk pioneers to moody folk rockers and raw garage energy, these groups may have vanished from the charts, but their influence lives on in ways you might not expect. Let's roll back the clock and bring these lost legends back into the spotlight. The Association, 1965. Known for their dreamy harmonies and orchestral pop arrangements, The Association found early success with hits like Cherish and Never My Love. The latter becoming one of the most played songs in radio history. Their sophisticated blend of sunshine and Baroque pop stood out in a crowded scene. However, internal conflicts, label struggles, and a rapidly evolving musical landscape made their sound feel outdated by the end of the decade. Despite never reaching the legendary status of their peers, the Association's elegant melodic style remains a defining part of 60s pop history. The Turtles, 1965, best remembered for their 1967 mega hit, Happy Together. The Turtles brought a playful, infectious energy to pop rock. Their sound fused folk pop with a touch of humor, seen in quirky tracks like Eleanor. Though massively popular for a time, they were plagued by legal issues and tension with their record label. As rock music grew heavier and more experimental, the Turtles struggled to stay relevant. By the early 70s, they disbanded, with core members forming the satirical duo Flo and Eddie. Still, their lighthearted melodic legacy lives on. The Hollies, 1962. The Hollies were a major force during the British invasion, known for their polished sound and pristine vocal harmonies. Hits like Bus Stop and The Air That I Breathe made them a household name. But despite their success, they were often overshadowed by fellow UK acts like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. The departure of Graham Nash, who would go on to form Crosby, Stills, and Nash, signaled a turning point. As musical tastes shifted in the 70s, the Hollies' style felt increasingly out of step, leaving their prime rooted firmly in the previous decade. The Yardbirds, 1963. A band whose influence far exceeded their fame, the Yardbirds were the training ground for guitar legends Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, and Jimmy Page. They helped define British blues rock and early psychedelia, with tracks like For Your Love and Heart Full of Soul leading the charge. Yet constant lineup changes and creative differences splintered the group. By 1968, they dissolved, with Jimmy Page using the ashes to form Led Zeppelin. Today, the Yardbirds are remembered less for their name than for the superstar acts they gave rise to. Small Faces, 1965. As pioneers of the mod movement, Small Faces blended British R&B, psychedelic textures, and soulful vocals into something vibrant and unmistakably their own. Songs like Itchy-Coo Park and Tin Soldier showed off their flair for melody and Steve Marriott's explosive voice. But as the band evolved into the Faces, with Rod Stewart joining the lineup, the original identity faded. Legal disputes and Marriott's departure fractured the group. Though their time was short, Small Faces left a lasting impression on Britpop and early 70s rock, influencing artists from Blur to Oasis. The Shag, 1965. Hailing from Milwaukee, the Shag embodied the raw spirit of 60s garage rock. Their 1967 single Stop and Listen, with its fuzzy guitar riffs, eerie vocal harmonies, and anti-drug lyrics, earned them regional acclaim and a loyal underground following. Their sound combined the urgency of garage rock with early psychedelic elements, drawing comparisons to acts like the Electric Prunes and 13th Floor Elevators. Despite their talent and a growing cult audience, national success eluded them. Frequent lineup changes and a rapidly shifting musical climate made it hard to keep up. By 1971, they disappeared, but their lone hit remains a garage psych treasure. The Monks, 1964. The Monks were one of the most bizarre and visionary acts of the 60s. American ex-GIs stationed in Germany, they dressed in black robes with shaved tonsures and created an abrasive, aggressive sound that predated punk by a decade. Their 1966 album, Black Monk Time, was filled with pounding drums, feedback-laced guitar riffs, and shouted anti-war lyrics.
All right, my name's Gary. Let's go. It's beat time. It's hot time. It's smoke time. Now we don't like the army.
Utterly out of sync with commercial pop of the time. Audiences didn't know what to make of them, and without label support, they faded quickly. Decades later, critics and musicians began to recognize their influence, hailing the Monks as proto-punk pioneers years ahead of their time. The Nightcrawlers, 1964. From Daytona Beach, Florida, the Nightcrawlers made a haunting mark on 1960s folk rock with their eerie, minimalist track, The Little Black Egg. Released in 1965, the song became a regional hit and later a cult classic, covered by several bands over the years. Their jangly, birds-like sound blended folk melancholy with garage grit. While they released a full album and a few additional singles, the Nightcrawlers struggled to gain national momentum. A lack of promotion and shifting trends left them behind. Still, their atmospheric sound carved out a niche, and The Little Black Egg remains a haunting gem of 60s underground rock. The Misunderstood, 1963. Originally from Riverside, California, The Misunderstood pushed the boundaries of psychedelic rock before most even knew what it was. Their sound was experimental, combining Eastern-influenced melodies, heavy distortion, and surreal lyrics. Tracks like Children of the Sun showcase their visionary spirit, drawing comparisons to early Pink Floyd and the Yardbirds. After relocating to the UK to chase success, they faced legal troubles and visa issues that ultimately tore the band apart, just as the psychedelic movement was peaking. Though their career was brief, their ahead-of-its-time sound influenced future generations of psych and prog rock musicians. The Rising Storm, 1965. Formed by college students in Boston, The Rising Storm created one of the most sought-after garage psych albums of the decade, Calm Before. Their moody sound featured introspective lyrics, haunting melodies, and a stripped-back intensity that set them apart from flashier peers. Songs like Frozen Laughter and To R.S., Whoever She May Be, earned them underground acclaim and later cult status among collectors. Pressed in small quantities, their sole album became a prized vinyl treasure. After college, the band disbanded quietly, never achieving mainstream fame. But Calm Before remains a touchstone for garage rock purists and psych revivalists alike. The Litter, 1965. Emerging from Minneapolis, The Litter delivered a harder-edged sound that blended garage rock with early psychedelic flair. Their 1967 debut album Distortions became a cult favorite, especially the electrifying track Action Woman, known for its snarling vocals and distorted fuzz-heavy guitar work.
Why you so cold?
The band's raw energy and proto-punk attitude set them apart in a scene increasingly dominated by polished psych. Despite strong regional success and a dedicated fan base, they never broke through nationally, held back by limited label support and changing trends. Still, Distortions remains a landmark of garage rock and a key influence on future punk and hard rock artists. The Music Machine, 1965. Los Angeles-based The Music Machine made a bold statement with their dark aesthetic, matching black outfits and minimalist proto-punk sound. Their breakout hit Talk Talk, 1966, was short, sharp, and aggressive. clocking in under 2 minutes but packing a punch with distorted guitar, pounding rhythms, and snarling vocals. They were ahead of their time, prefiguring the punk movement by over a decade. Internal conflicts and mismanagement hampered their progress, and the band quickly fell apart. Despite releasing only one full album and a few singles, their influence on punk, garage, and even alternative rock remains undeniable. Talk Talk is still considered a genre-defining track. The Electric Prunes, 1965. Known for their mind-bending sonic experiments, the Electric Prunes helped push psychedelic rock into uncharted territory. Their 1966 single, I Had Too Much to Dream, Last Night, is a swirling, fuzz-drenched anthem that captured the trippy essence of the era. The band was unafraid to blend distorted vocals, backward tape effects, and surreal lyrical imagery into their work. Though they gained early attention, they struggled with creative direction, management interference, and the pressure to conform to more mainstream sounds. By the time they found their artistic groove, momentum had faded. Still, their boundary-pushing recordings laid groundwork for experimental rock and continue to inspire. The Seeds, 1965. With their stripped-down, rebellious spirit, the Seeds embodied the garage rock ethos. Their 1965 hit Pushin' Too Hard became an underground anthem of youthful frustration and nonconformity, driven by a simple, hypnotic riff and snarling vocals. The band's sound was raw, primal, and defiantly unpolished, traits that made them both thrilling and difficult to market as rock became more complex and layered. As the psychedelic wave evolved, the Seeds struggled to adapt, and their moment passed. Though they never achieved mainstream stardom, they remain highly respected as proto-punk trailblazers, influencing countless garage and punk acts in the decades that followed. The Blues Magoos, 1964. Based in the Bronx, the Blues Magoos merged bluesy rock roots with psychedelic flair to create a distinctive voice in the mid-60s scene. Their 1966 hit, We Ain't Got Nothin' Yet, showcased swirling organ lines, driving guitar riffs, and sarcastic, youthful lyrics that connected with the emerging counterculture. They were among the early adopters of psychedelic visuals and stage shows, even donning electric suits that lit up on stage. But as psychedelic rock became more experimental and conceptual, their sound struggled to keep up. Lineup changes and shifting trends led to their decline. Nonetheless, their early records remain essential listening for psych rock fans. The Standells, 1962. Though based in Los Angeles, the Standells are forever linked to Boston, thanks to their gritty 1966 anthem Dirty Water. The song's sneering vocals, catchy riff, and rebellious energy made it a garage rock classic and a surprising regional hit in New England. Known for their raw, no-frills sound, the Standells captured the rough and ready spirit of mid-60s rock. However, as psychedelia took over the airwaves, their straightforward style began to feel dated. Constant lineup changes and the rapidly evolving music industry didn't help. By the end of the decade, they had faded from view. Still, Dirty Water remains a garage staple and a Boston sports anthem to this day. The Sonics, 1960. Exploding out of Tacoma, Washington, the Sonics were raw, loud, and miles ahead of their time. Their 1965 debut, Here Are the Sonics, is now considered one of the most important garage rock albums ever recorded. With unhinged vocals, screaming saxophones, and blistering guitar riffs, songs like The Witch and Psycho laid the groundwork for punk, grunge, and garage revival. They were too intense for mainstream radio, and their DIY sound didn't fit the polished trends of late 60s rock. Despite that, their influence on generations of bands, from Nirvana to the White Stripes, is massive. They may not have topped the charts, but they helped shape modern rock's DNA. The Remains, 1964. The Remains were on the brink of stardom, even scoring a coveted spot opening for the Beatles on their 1966 US tour. Hailing from Boston, the band combined driving rhythm, jangly guitars, and gritty vocals to create a powerful live sound. Songs like Why Do I Cry revealed their knack for urgent, emotional garage pop. Critics praised their energy and potential, but internal tensions and the pressure of constant touring led to their sudden breakup, just as things were taking off. While they only released one studio album, it's since become a cult favorite, and The Remains are now recognized as one of the great what-ifs of 1960s rock. The Fugs, 1964, founded by poets Ed Sanders and Thule Kupferberg in New York City, the Fugs were part band, part political theater. They merged beatnik poetry with garage rock and biting satire, creating songs that were as provocative as they were catchy. Tracks like Kill for Peace and CIA Man challenged war, government, and conformity, making the Fugs early counterculture icons. Their obscenity-laced lyrics and irreverent performances kept them far from the mainstream, but they developed a loyal underground following. Record label battles and censorship stunted their rise, but their influence on punk, anti-folk, and alternative movements is undeniable. More than just a band, the Fugs were a movement, a raw, rebellious force that spoke truth to power. Blue Cheer, 1966. If there's a band that bridged the gap between psychedelic rock and heavy metal, it's Blue Cheer. Their thunderous 1968 debut Vincebus Eruptum featured a ferocious, fuzz-drenched cover of summertime blues that redefined loudness in rock. With bone-crushing riffs and explosive drums, they paved the way for bands like Black Sabbath and Deep Purple. Often cited as the first true heavy metal band, Blue Cheer's raw power and chaotic lifestyle made them both revolutionary and unstable. Lineup changes, drug use, and lack of consistent direction led to their early fade, but their sonic intensity lives on, echoed in grunge, stoner rock, and every band that's ever turned it up to 11. While these 20 bands may not have earned a place in the mainstream music canon, their influence is far from forgotten. Each one brought something unique to the wild, transformative landscape of 1960s rock. Whether it was through pioneering fuzz-drenched garage riffs, embracing early psychedelia, or pushing back against societal norms with fearless lyrics and untamed energy, many were ahead of their time, misunderstood by the industry, or simply lost in the chaos of a decade overflowing with talent. But their contributions helped shape the sounds that would follow. Proto-punk, heavy metal, indie rock, and more. Revisiting these lost legends isn't just about nostalgia, it's about rediscovery. It's about hearing the raw beginnings of musical revolutions and giving credit to artists who laid the groundwork for generations to come. So, put on your headphones, Talk, Pushin' Too Hard, or The Little Black Egg, and dive into the music that time almost forgot. And hey, if you love this journey through rock's forgotten past, don't forget to subscribe. There's plenty more where this came from.